9 trillion shillings. To the viewer who is watching, whose pockets need to be the producer of that amount, are they getting value for that?
To the viewer, the basic things that concern every other person, commonly known as Wanjiku, will be the basic education, health, and such. But when we look at the allocations that are done to these sectors, case in point, health, there's already we are signatories to a treaty that we should allocate 15% of our budget to health. Is that being followed? So even as we speak about zero budgeting in Northeast, are we also true to what we've signed? Are they just pieces of paper that we signed? So to the common mwananchi, these numbers will not make sense until he gets the basic. And the basic are basically education and health. When you look at what is happening in our hospitals today, in the streets there has been that fear that the CS tried to allude today in terms of whether examinations will be sat for or not, where he tried to erase our fears by saying that they allocated, I think, 700 and something million to education to ensure that examinations are sat for. So to the common man, to answer to your question, these numbers will not make any sense when he goes to the hospital and does not get the drugs. When he goes to school and he's told that the mwalimu tells them that the allocation, the capitation has not reached schools.
Raphael, you say these numbers to the common man, to the common mwananchi, do not make sense. The government and policymakers often point to citizens who want literally and quite frankly everything free. Free education, free healthcare.
Yes.
Where will that money come from? From not to be a defensive in nature of what the government and policymakers are saying, but are they justified to pose it as that way?
I think what we need to do, as my brother alludes to, is also to look at the prudent management of the scarce resources that are there. If you look at the education sector today, there's a bursary by the MCA, bursary by the women rep, bursary by the governor. Basically, all the political leaders have a bursary. If all these funds are put together and allocated to schools, maybe it could minimize such fears that we have in education. If you look at what has happened in the past, the route at KEMSA, he's just said that if we can tame, if not eradicate corruption, these things will be possible. If you look at our budgeting, I like it when the CS says he's zero budget, but I also feel like when he budgets with a 4.5% deficit, he's too ambitious. It's just a too ambitious budget. I think by the virtue it was a zero-based budget, he should have narrowed down to what we have. All of us here have bigger needs than what we have, but we live within our means. As a country, I think what we need to do is to start living within our means. So focusing on a 4.5 deficit in our budget, it's also a problem. The other thing that I want to point out is it has been said that we have budgeted corruption. I think that's what my brother here was alluding to. Once we move from that and now start living within our means, this budget will reach the common person and the numbers will make sense.